WLYR 93.0 is the station, that's what's up. Samurai Panda Sports is the show, and we about to cut it up now. Alright, this is different. The 2023 Washington Commanders.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Where do we begin here? Well, let's start with some backstory. Dan fucking Snyder.
Fuck you, dude!
Alright, moving on now. But seriously, this team has been through hell the past 20 plus years. So many coaches, so many trades, so many failures. The Steve Spurrier saga, the return of Joe Gibbs, that Jim Zorn thing, Albert Hainsworth thing, Donovan McNabb had a thing, the RG3 Kirk Cousins thing. Basically, this team was just awful. And Dan Snyder played a huge role in that. Since he took over the team in 1999, the Commanders have gone 164, 220, and 2, with a 2-6 record in the playoffs.
Your ass!
Don't worry, I'll do the math for you. That's a 42% win percentage.
Your ass!
Yeah, not to mention the condition, well, lack thereof, of FedEx Field. Now, yes, you have the countless injuries that have occurred on that field, especially to ones of their own team, Alex Smith, RG3, but just simply the pure lack of general maintenance and care. The field, absolutely terrible. Some of the seating is horrendous. The parking, atrocious. Heck, the location of where it's at. One, it's not even in DC, and two, it's in a terrible location. Ticket prices, terrible. Not to mention you have the sewage water thing, and then the lack of hot water thing. Not to mention also, it's collapsing within itself, putting fans and players in danger. Simply put, Dan Snyder was Satan. And there's no other way to put it.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Being from the DC metro area, I am pretty familiar with how the Commanders sucked over the years. I've seen the effects of Dan Snyder firsthand. It was that bad. Actually, it was much worse. So fast forward to last year. After multiple investigations and charges, including sexual harassment and bank fraud, and skimming the league's pockets, reports of a possible exit were storming the NFL world. The reign could be over. As for the product on the field, well, they finished 8-1. Not bad. They had a pretty solid defense all year, and there was some potential in offense. Of course, quarterback was the question mark. They tried Carson Wentz.
But why though?
Then when that didn't work, they went to Taylor Heineke. Until Ron Rivera decided to go back to Carson Wentz for some reason.
The deception! The betrayal, man, you deceived me!
Now mind you, that move was made while in contention for the playoffs. But don't tell Ron that.
But why though?
Yeah, there was an incident where Ron decided to start Carson Wentz. Mind you, where the team was sitting at in the standings, they could have fought for the 7th seed. If you win, you're most likely in type of a situation. He put in Carson Wentz, and they lost.
Holy shit!
And they missed the playoffs.
Holy shit!
And the press conference afterwards, Ron literally said he didn't realize that they were eliminated.
Holy shit!
Then you have Sam Howell, who showed some promise in a game against Dallas, and so with all of that backdrop and everything, coming off of last year, defense just needs a little bit of retooling, and the offense, Sam Howell could be the answer. So what's next? Now, the offseason. So the Commanders decided to roll with Sam Howell as their starter, and I don't blame them. They got to see what they got in the kid, but they needed someone to coach him and have an offense that functions. So they decided to snatch Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City, which at the time, the move was pretty much praised. Eric Bieniemy is a damn good coordinator, obviously, and he's even a better coach, a better motivator. But this also gives him a chance to show off his genius. Got plenty of weapons to work with here too, including Scary Terry. Then 10 days later, pretty much on both sides of the ball, got a whole revamp on the coaching staff, besides Ron Rivera, for some reason. We'll get there in a second. Then also they let Taylor Heineke go to Atlanta and decided to bring in Jacoby Brissett. Deron Payne got re-signed to a good deal. The roster was starting to fill out pretty nicely. Then one day, in May 2023, one report sparked joy into the heart of every Commanders fan, as well as the city of DC as a whole. Dan Snyder has agreed to sell the team.
Fuck you, nigga.
Granted, he's going to be walking away with nearly almost $7 billion, but he's gone.
Fuck you, nigga.
Who's the buyer? Well, none other than the Josh Harris Group. They also own the 76ers. The deal was unanimously approved by owners on July 20th, and a day later, the deal was done. The beast has been slain, exiled, gone. The reign is over. The wicked bitch is dead. Now a new day has begun. Wait, they drafted Emmanuel Forbes?
Why? 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 Why?
Well, Sam Howell, he looked good in the preseason, and the energy in the city was buzzing. You could just feel it in the streets. Wait, players are complaining about Eric Bieniemy's coaching style, saying that it's too harsh. Still, there was a lot of hope and hype for the season. Got a pretty solid defense. Chase Young coming back. Got a great offensive coordinator with a lot of weapons, like Scary Terry, Brian Robinson Jr., Logan Thomas, and Dan Snyder is officially gone. The stage was set. FedEx Field is sold out and is going to be filled with mostly Washington fans, which hasn't happened in a very long time. Usually, the opposing team sells out the stadium, and it's kind of an embarrassing sight. And who's coming to town? A Cardinals team without Kyler Murray and a rookie head coach. Oh yeah, let's go. Let's go. Yeah. DMV. 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 4-13, and it wasn't pretty. Like, at least the Cardinals fought in every game, you know, but the Commanders just suck. They started 2-0, and then the Bills game happened, and it just kind of fell apart over the course of the season. But what exactly happened? How did this happen? Welcome to Deep Cut. We just got the sword sharpened. Let's chop it up. Number 1, the offensive line. I'm starting to notice a common thread with all of these bad teams. A poor O-line means a lot of sacks are given up. Sam Howell was sacked 65 times this season. Yeah, that's definitely most in the league. Bryce Young was not too far behind though, at 61. And they couldn't run block very well either. Look, it's hard for any offense to thrive if the O-line is Swiss cheese. That O-line was terrible. Now, this leads me to my next point. Number 2, the offense. This goes for Sam Howell, and a little bit goes to Eric Bieniemy as well. There were flashes of good, especially early on in the season. Like I said, they started 2-0. Had a little bit of a rocky start with the Cardinals, but that Broncos game, offense seemed to be there. Defense was, a little questionable, but the offense was there. But then, you had complete duds, like the Buffalo game, like the Chicago game, and just weird play calling at times. But maybe that's just them figuring out, and maybe that's just Eric Bieniemy just trying to build a scheme, basically. Learning on the fly, if you will. But it was like they would take a step forward one week, and then 5 steps back the next week. Hell, you might even see it on the very next drive sometimes. But towards the end of the season, Sam Howell just simply turned into straight elephant ass.
Your ass!
And it got so bad to the point where they had to put in Jacoby Brisket.
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker.
And honestly, he looked much better than Howell did for the most part. Didn't turn the ball over either. Now, Sam has had some good games, but he also has way too many turnovers. 21 interceptions is a lot. And he sometimes held onto the ball for way too long, which is probably another reason why the sack number is pretty high. Maybe he could use another year of development under Eric Bieniemy's system. Or maybe the team just might move off him. They got the number 2 pick. Now, I don't have any clue on what they're going to do, but one thing I do know is that nothing on offense matters until they get that defense in order, which leads me to number 3, the defense. Or really, lack thereof. I mean, what in the flying fuck was that? That secondary has to have 3rd-degree burns from how much they got torched this year. Let's break it down. The defense as a whole gave up 4,000 457 receiving yards, as well as 39 receiving touchdowns. That is ranked dead last.
You guys stink.
Let's just isolate it down to the secondary. So safeties and cornerbacks and all the defensive backs as a whole gave up 3,574 of those yards and 31 of those touchdowns. Oh, and if you thought that the run defense was better, it was, just not by much. Defense gave up 2,155 yards on the ground as well as 15 rushing touchdowns, kind of ranked in the low 20s there. And then when the trade deadline comes around, you trade away Chase Young and Montez Sweat, which leads me to my next point. Number 4, the coach, Ron Rivera. Now, let me preface this by saying that I applaud him for beating cancer. That is a hell of a feat, yet alone beating it twice. Kudos to him for that. And I personally think that he is a pretty decent defensive coordinator. Well, maybe was at this point now, but holy shit. I don't think he has the head coach thing down pat. I mean, he ran Cam Newton into the dirt pretty much, and look what he's doing here. Now I get it. When he got here, he had a shit load of problems to deal with that were way above his pay grade, and most of that is due to Dan Snyder being Dan Snyder.
Fuck you, nigga.
But at the same time, you still have to coach. There were some games where the team just looked completely dead. And on top of all of that, with how shitty the defense has been, it makes no sense because the defense is his side of the ball. Yes, Jack Del Rio had a lot to do with that. I mean, he did fire him, but that was too little too late. And that was after you traded away your 2 best players on defense. Which, again, if you're going to trade him away, can you at least get something of value out of it? Holy hell. You pretty much let him walk almost. It was clearly time for the team to move on, for sure. And with the current coaching market the way it is, who knows what the answer is going to be. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, what about Bieniemy? I personally think that they should elevate him right away, and maybe they're just doing all of these coaching searches to abide by the Rooney Rule. That could totally be it. And Eric Bieniemy is also assistant head coach. But I don't know if ownership, and I don't know if the new GM saw enough from him this season to promote him. The offense just didn't really look fully together, so maybe they might hold off for a year. And I know the O-line is Swiss cheese. There's some big names out there that they might be attracted to. I'm just saying. I think they should roll with Bieniemy, but what do I know? I'm just a guy in a room.
This is my torture chamber.
But no matter what they decide to do, no move is a bad move, especially with the number 2 pick. Now, everything is kind of up in the air at this point with new ownership and all, and it's really up to them on where the team goes from here. Now, as of the recording of this, they have hired Adam Peters as the new GM. He was the assistant general manager of the 49ers, which is a winning organization with a winning culture, so I think it's a good move. And apparently he's good at evaluating talent, which this team desperately needs. Here are some things that the Commanders have to address. You got to figure out your head coach. That's first and foremost. Who's the captain of the ship? Who's driving this thing? Now, what your head coach has to do is figure out if Sam Howell is the guy, or are you going to take somebody at number 2? If you do think Howell's the guy, then this leads me to my next point. You should fix the O-line and address it, whether in free agency or the draft or both. Just figure it out, okay? Because no matter who's back there at quarterback, you got to protect them. And last, and certainly not least, please fix the secondary. I don't know if that's whether that's personnel or scheme, but whatever the current situation is, it ain't it. Seriously, good grief. Look at your secondary and you see nothing but skid marks. The Commanders have some questions to answer, but at least there is a new ownership, a new direction, a new era. It's people that actually care about making the franchise better, and they know what the fuck they're doing. Now, all I ask is that you don't make the process to where you guys end up choking in the 2nd or 3rd round like the 76ers.
I'm here. I belong in being the best player in the world.
Just saying. But thank you all for watching. I hope you guys are digging this new series. I'm really having fun making them. But you let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. When you do subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you give somebody a hug today. Make sure you smile today. Keep your head up. Keep the devil down. But let's get up out of here. WLYR 93.0 is the station. That's what's up. Samurai Panda Sports is the show. Don't get cut like the Commanders just did. I am your host, Lyricist the Kid. signing off, and we out.